And we were losing them because we were not addressing those issues. So I was telling them, I said, look, the way you're going, by being so anti, healthcare reform and being so anti-environment and stuff like this, we are losing and we are dying at the box office.
Arnold, I have a great idea. Why don't we switch jobs? You take over TV because you're such an expert in ratings, and I take over your job. And then people can finally sleep comfortably again.
Very aware of Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. It was a night of rampage against the Jews carried out in 1938 by the Nazi equivalent of the Proud Boys.
Trump bragged about TV ratings, so Arnold suggested they swap jobs. Imagine Trump hosting The Apprentice while Arnie runs the country. But here's the real shocker. Arnold didn't stop there. He went on to call Trump the worst president ever. Ouch, that's gotta hurt more than getting punched by the Terminator. But why is Arnold's opinion causing such a stir? Stay tuned to find out why his words are resonating with millions. This has always blown my mind a little bit. 91% that watch this show regularly haven't subscribed. Could I ask you for a small favor before we start? If you like this show, what we do here, and want to support us, the free simple way you can do just that is by hitting the subscribe button. Remember when Arnold was just a muscle-bound action hero? Well folks, our favorite Austrian oak has branched out in ways we never saw coming. From flexing pecs to flexing political smarts, Arnie's gone and turned himself into Trump's worst nightmare. And let me tell you, it's a sight to behold. Now you might be wondering how a guy known for catchphrases like "I'll be back" and "Get to the chopper" ended up going toe-to-toe with the former president. Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because this story's got more twists than a pretzel factory.
You famously said that the Republican Party has a problem at the box office. I heard you equate the GOP with the Titanic. Explain.
And I think there are very talented people in this country on the Republican side that can run. So I will go, look in the future rather than in a rear mirror. The only thing is that we don't have to go under completely. We don't have to wait for that moment. Let's change and let's go and be more open and go back to this kind of like a big tent idea of Ronald Reagan.
See, Arnold's got a secret weapon that Trump never saw coming, his immigrant experience. While Trump was busy being born with a silver spoon in his mouth, little Arnold was growing up in post-World War II Austria. Talk about a crash course in democracy. The guy saw firsthand what happens when strongmen take over, and let's just say it left an impression. But Arnold didn't stop there. Oh no, he went from Terminator to Governator, swapping his action hero persona for a stint as the governor of California. And you know what? The guy actually learned a thing or two about governing. Who would have thunk it? Now, here's where things get really interesting. Arnold started dropping truth bombs about democracy that are making even his critics sit up and take notice. It's like watching a bodybuilder suddenly start quoting Shakespeare. You're not sure whether to be impressed or check if you're hallucinating. But here's the kicker. Arnold's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk. He's been using his platform to speak out against Trump's attempts to undermine democracy, and he's doing it with the kind of eloquence that's leaving people slack-jawed. Take his recent video message for example. Arnold didn't just criticize Trump, he went full Terminator on him. He called out Trump's lies about election fraud, saying President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. He sought a coup by misleading people with lies. Ouch, that's gotta sting more than a botched spray tan. But Arnold wasn't done. He went on to compare the Capitol riots to Kristallnacht, drawing on his own family's experiences in Nazi-occupied Austria. Talk about a heavy hit. It's like watching a heavyweight boxer suddenly pull out a PhD in history and start lecturing his opponent mid-fight. And you know what's really got Trump's toupee in a twist? Arnold's not just criticizing, he's offering solutions. He's called for political reforms, increased civic engagement, and even suggested that Trump should admit he lost the election. It's like he's not just pointing out the problem, he's offering to fix the whole dang system. Now, I know what you're thinking. How's Trump taking all this? Well, let's just say his Twitter fingers are probably itching something fierce. But here's the thing, Arnold's got Trump trumped. Every time Trump tries to hit back, Arnold just comes back stronger, armed with facts, personal experience, and a boatload of charisma. It's like watching David take on Goliath. If David was built like a Greek god and Goliath had a questionable spray tan, Arnold's proving that sometimes the best way to fight a bully isn't with fists, but with brains, heart, and a healthy dose of Austrian charm. Well, folks, it looks like Arnold's not just flexing his political muscles anymore. He's about to drop a zinger so wild, it'll make Trump's hair stand on end if it isn't already. Ever wonder what would happen if these two swapped jobs? Hold on to your dumbbells, cause Arnie's got a proposition that'll make you laugh harder than Trump's excuses. So here's the deal. Our favorite Austrian oak decided to respond to Trump's trash talk about his TV ratings. You see, Donnie Diapers couldn't resist bragging about how he was the king of the celebrity Apprentice, and how Arnold supposedly tanked the show. Trump, being his usual charming self, called it a total disaster and said the ratings went right down the tubes after Arnold took over. Classic Trump, right? Always obsessed with those ratings. But here's where it gets good. Arnold, being the clever guy he is, decided to hit back with a comeback so spicy it could melt Trump's spray tan right off. In a video that spread faster than gym gossip, Arnold basically said, "Hey Trumpy, if you're so obsessed with TV ratings, why don't we switch jobs? You take over the show and I'll run the country." Can you imagine that? Trump hosting The Celebrity Apprentice while Arnold runs the White House. It'd be like one of those body swap comedies, but with way more political consequences. Picture it, Arnold in the Oval Office, solving problems with his signature "I'll be back" catchphrase, while Trump tries to fire celebrities without getting sued. It's comedy gold, people. But here's the kicker. Arnold wasn't just throwing out sick burns for the fun of it. Nope. Our muscle-bound hero was making a serious point about what real leadership looks like. See, while Trump's busy counting his Twitter followers and TV ratings, Arnold's reminding us that being in charge isn't about how popular you are. It's about actually helping people and, you know, doing your job. And let me tell you, the internet went absolutely bananas over this video. It spread faster than a rumor about Trump's toupee falling off during a press conference. People were sharing it, retweeting it, probably printing it out and framing it on their walls. It was like the whole world collectively stood up and shouted, "Hasta la vista, baby," to Trump's antics. But here's where it gets really interesting. Political experts are saying that celebs like Arnold can actually get people fired up about voting and politics. It's like they're the cool teachers who make civics class fun instead of a snooze fest. They can take all that boring political stuff and make it relatable, interesting, and sometimes even funny. Who knew that the guy who played the Terminator could also terminate voter apathy? Think about it. When Arnold talks about politics, people listen. Maybe it's the accent, maybe it's the biceps, or maybe it's just because he knows how to explain things without putting everyone to sleep. He's like that friend who can break down complicated stuff in a way that actually makes sense. And let's face it, in today's political circus, we could use a little more of that and a little less, well, Trump. So what's the real takeaway here? Arnold's showing us that true power isn't about how many people watch your TV show or how many followers you have on social media. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it means going toe-to-toe with a guy who has access to nuclear codes. Arnold's proving that sometimes the best way to fight a bully isn't with fists. Though let's be honest, he could probably bench press Trump without breaking a sweat. But with brains, heart, and a healthy dose of Austrian charm. Well, folks, it looks like Arnold's about to drop a metaphor so juicy, it'll make Trump's steaks look like mystery meat. What do you get when you mix the GOP, the Titanic, and Arnold's wit? A political roast so hot it could melt icebergs. Our favorite Austrian action hero is taking aim at the GOP's policies, and he's not pulling any punches. Arnold's comparing the Republican Party under Trump to the Titanic, and let me tell you, it's not because of their fancy dinner parties or Leonardo DiCaprio's good looks. So why is Arnold saying the GOP is like a sinking ship? Well, it turns out Trump's policies are leaving people out in the cold, just like those poor folks in steerage. And we're not talking about a refreshing dip in the Atlantic here, folks. First up on Arnold's hit list, Trump's stance on the environment. Looks like our orange friend thinks climate change is about as real as his natural hair color. Arnold's not having any of it, though. He's calling out Trump's denial faster than you can say the iceberg is fake news. But wait, there's more. Arnold's taking a swing at the GOP's healthcare reform, or should we say, lack thereof. It's like they're trying to patch up the Titanic with band-aids and thoughts and prayers. Spoiler alert, it's not working. Arnold's warning is clear. The GOP is dying at the box office with these policies. And let's face it, when a guy who starred in more blockbusters than Trump's had bankruptcies tells you you're flopping, you might want to listen. But why is Arnold's Titanic metaphor hitting home harder than an iceberg to the hull? Well, it turns out voters are pretty fond of things like, oh, I don't know, breathing clean air and not going broke from a stubbed toe. Crazy, right? Arnold's showing us that real leadership means including everyone, not just the folks sipping champagne in first class. It's about making sure the ship stays afloat for all passengers, not just the ones with the fancy hats and monocles. But hold on to your life jackets, because Arnold's not done yet. He's about to get personal with Trump, and something tells me it's going to be more explosive than the Titanic's boiler room. Stay tuned, folks, because this political showdown is just getting started, and Arnold's proving that he can terminate bad policies just as well as he can Terminators. Well, folks, it looks like Arnold's about to flex his political muscles in a whole new way. Trump's been throwing his weight around, claiming he's a svelte 215 pounds. But our favorite Austrian oak isn't buying it. And let's be real, who better to call out this fib than the guy who's been pumping iron since before Trump learned to say, "You're fired." Arnold's not just flexing his biceps here, he's flexing his truth-telling muscles too. On Jimmy Kimmel Live, he dropped a truth bomb that had the audience in stitches. If it makes him feel good to tell everyone he weighs 215, I think everyone laughs about it because he does not look like he weighs 215, Arnold chuckled. Ouch, that's gotta sting more than leg day at the gym. But wait, it gets better. Arnold, being the helpful guy he is, even offered Trump some fitness advice. He suggested Trump should run around yourself 3 times to improve his fitness. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd pay good money to see Trump trying to chase his own tail. It'd probably be more entertaining than The Apprentice ever was. And now, some might say Arnold's just being a bully, picking on Trump's appearance. But here's the thing, Arnold's not really talking about Trump's waistline. He's talking about his character. It's not about the number on the scale, it's about the lies that keep tipping it. Arnold's point is clear. If Trump can't be honest about something as simple as his weight, how can we trust him with the big stuff? And let's face it, folks, Arnold knows a thing or two about leadership. He's been flexing those gubernatorial muscles long before Trump even thought about politics. When Arnold talks about the importance of honesty in leadership, he's not just blowing hot air, unlike some other politicians we could mention. But here's where it gets really interesting. The public reaction to Arnold's comments has been more positive than a motivational speech at a bodybuilding convention. People are eating it up like it's cheat day at the gym. Why? Because they're tired of Trump's constant exaggerations and misrepresentations. It's like they've been force-fed a diet of alternative facts, and Arnold's serving up a refreshing plate of truth. Arnold's quip about Trump's weight is resonating with voters in a way that goes beyond just a good laugh. It's tapping into a deeper frustration with the culture of dishonesty that's become all too common in politics. People are hungry for leaders who tell it like it is, even if the truth isn't always pretty. And let's be honest, in politics, the truth is about as rare as a vegan at a barbecue competition. But here's the real kicker. Arnold's showing us that true strength isn't about how much you can bench press or how many buildings have your name on them. It's about having the guts to stand up for what's right, even when it's not popular. It's about being honest, even when the truth might not make you look good. And it's about putting the needs of the people ahead of your own ego. Well, folks, it looks like the Terminator's not just pumping iron these days. He's pumping up the youth vote. Recent data shows that young voters are flexing their civic muscles like never before. In the last election, we saw a whopping 50% increase in youth turnout. That's right, the kids are alright, and they're storming the voting booths. But here's the kicker. Arnold's not just here to tell us about the good old days of bodybuilding and movie making. Nope. He's passing the torch to a new generation of leaders. And let me tell you, it's not just about having biceps the size of watermelons. Arnie's message is clear. Democracy needs more than muscle. It needs heart. So will you be back to the voting booth, or will you let democracy go the way of the VHS tape? The choice is yours, folks. And remember, in the words of the great Schwarzenegger, "I'll be back" isn't just a catchphrase, it's a promise to keep showing up for what matters.